Okay, what we're going to do now is allow the user to select their filters at the top here. And what we'll do, we'll head over to our member list component and let's start adding what we need inside here. So we're going to need a list, a drop down for the genders. And what we'll do, just to initialize that, we'll add a property called gender list. And what we'll do is we'll set this to an array and we'll give it a key of value. And this is going to be male. And a display value as well as what we're going to display for the option in the drop down. And I'm just going to set this to males. And then we'll add another object in this array and we'll give this one a value of female. And we'll set the display value to females. And what we'll also do in here is we'll create a method inside here to reset filters. So we'll say reset filters. And what we'll do is we'll say list.userParams equals new user params, and we'll pass in list.user so that the parameters get reset to what they are initialized at, and then we'll say list.loadMembers. So what we'll do then is we'll head over to the components template. So let's clean up the top here and close the others, and we'll go to the member list component HTML, and what we'll do inside here is we're going to add a header at the top, and we'll say div.text-center, and we'll give it some margin top of 3 just to bring it down a bit, and we'll add an h2 tag and say your matches, and then we'll get the pagination information, and we'll say pagination.total items, and we may not have this, and if we don't have pagination when our component loads, because remember the order of things that Angular is going to construct our component, and our view, our template is going to get constructed before we receive the data, because there's going to be, well, we've already added the delay for sure to our API. So what we can do is we can also just specify the optional chaining parameter here. So we're not going to get an error if we don't have the total items when this is constructed. What we will have is a blank where this is, so it might not be ideal, and you might want to change this to a conditional at the top, but then it's going to push your page down when this does load in. So what we can do is then say found, and then what we'll do below this, we'll do this inside a container. So we'll say div.container, and we'll add margin top of 3 to bring this down from our header here. And what we're going to add inside here is a form, a simple little form that we're going to use to give the user some selection options. So we'll say form, and we don't need an action, but what we'll do, we'll use a template form for this, and we'll just call it form equal to ng form. And we'll give it a class equal to form-inline, and we'll give it some margin bottom and say -3. And what we'll also do is give it an ng submit, and we're going to set this equal to load members. And as with any form, I'm just going to turn off autocomplete because it can be annoying. And inside here, what we'll do is we'll add a form group, and we'll add a label. And inside this label, we're going to say age from. And then underneath this, we're going to add an input. And in this case, the type is going to be a number. And we'll give it a class equal to form-control. And we'll give it margin left of 1, and we'll give it some style, and we'll give it a width, and we'll specify this as 70 pixels. And then because we're going to be using the ng model inside here for two-way binding, we need to give this input a name, and we're going to call it min age. And remember the importance of the accuracy of the capitalization and the spelling there. It has to match what we've put, whatever we've put inside our user params. And then what we can do is say a-ng model, and we can say user params dot min age. And let's bring this stuff down a bit. And then what we'll do is I'm going to copy this form group, and we'll paste this below. And what we'll do is we'll give this some padding left and right of 2, just to move it away, and we'll give it an age 2, And then what we'll do is change the name to max age, and we'll change the user params to max age as well. And then under this, we're going to add another form group. So we'll say div.form group, and we'll give it, again, left and right padding of 2, and we'll add a label, and we'll just remove the label 4, and what we'll do is say show, colon, and then we'll add a select input type, and the name of this is going to be gender, and we don't need the ID property in here, and we'll give this some style, and we'll set the width specifically in here, and we'll set the width equal to 130 pixels. And again, we need to give this a class, and it's going to be form-control, and we'll give it margin left of 1. And inside our select, what we'll do is we'll specify the options. So we'll say option, and what we're going to do in here is loop over the items in the gender. So we'll say a-ng4, and let gender of gender list, and then we take the value. This is the value that's going to be output when we select this. And the value here is going to be the gender.value. And inside here, what we'll do is we'll use interpolation and just say gender.display. And underneath this div, what we'll do is we'll add 2 buttons. We'll add a button with class btn-primary. And we'll say margin left of 1. And this is going to be of type submit, and this is going to allow the user to select a filter and then just press return, or they can click the button itself. And what we'll do is we'll say apply filters, and we'll just copy this button down, and this one's going to be button info, and we'll call this reset filters. And we'll give this the click event so that we call our reset filters method. And that should be enough. Let's go take a look. And if we go to our browser, then we can see we've got our filters displaying now. We've got our ages, and we're not displaying the ages on here. So let's head back to VS Code, and we'll just display the age of the user to the right, because obviously that's going to help us out when we're filtering this stuff. And we'll go to our member card component, HTML, and just after the known as, we'll add a comma, and what we'll do is say member.age. And let's go back to the browser. And now we can see the various ages of our users. So let's start off by going from, let's just get Karen and Lewis in here. So we'll say from 24 to 32 and press return. And we see Karen and Lewis, and if we ask for 25 and press return, then we should only see Lewis, obviously. And if we go back to 18, or let's just reset the filters first of all. And this time let's go the other way. Let's suggest a maximum age or a minimum age of 60, and we'll keep 99. And then we see Ruthie and Margot, and let's just make sure it's accurate. So we'll say 62, and that's fine. We'll go back to 60. And we'll say age 2 is 63, and this should be fine as well. Great, so we'll reset the filters, and we're showing the wrong gender by default in here by the looks of things. We're showing males. Let's just refresh the page, and this should show as females by default. So there's some logic wrong there somewhere. So let's see what's going on, and we'll go back to our member list component, and what we're using for this is the value should be the gender.value, and it should be getting this from our user params.gender, but we don't have an ng model inside here, and we need it. So in our select, what we should also have is an a-ng model, and this should be the user params.gender. And with this in place, let's go take a look. And now that's more like it. Now we're seeing the list of females. But I'm logged in as Lisa, and what I should really be seeing is the list of males when I first show up. But what we haven't done yet is logged out and logged back in again. And if I take a look at the application and we take a look at what's in local storage, we don't currently have the gender inside here. So I'm just going to log out, and I'll log back in as Lisa and the password. And what we should see now is the list of males by default, because now we have inside our user object the gender of the user as well. So now we're seeing males by default, and if we want to show the females and apply filters, then we get the list of females. So our filters are working as we have them at the moment, and we can reset and we'll go back to the default. And our pagination should still work, of course, and we can go backwards and forwards. Excellent. And what we'll take a look at next is how we can implement sorting in our application.